Chapter 18. The Land of Fire and Ice. Isolation is the apparent punishment for Sophia's defiance, for she spends the remainder of the voyage in her room. Lynn doesn't summon her for any additional above-decks conversations. The only times Sophia sees another human face are when meals are delivered by a stocky, rosy-cheeked woman named Caesar. With little else to do, she whittles away her time exercising and practicing the kickboxing skills she learned from Kira and Kyla. She also frequents her balcony, doing nothing but staring out at the sea and thinking. Her mind wanders again and again to Bixby and Micah. She doesn't know whether they are dead or alive or struggling somewhere in between. She wonders whether her friends will come for her, and if they do, whether Lynn will fulfill her threat by executing Sophia. Mostly she dreams of home. She's surprised at herself when she realizes she misses her motor home, her bed, even her stupid chickens. She's living out the adventure she always wanted. But now that she is, her heart longs for the comfort and constancy of her old life. Just as Columbia predicted, the coastline of Iceland is within reach 3 days later. Instead of docking straight away, they sail westward along the southern coast. From her balcony, Sophia gapes at the immense arms of white glaciers. They are frozen rivers, flowing down the high mountains in slow motion, hugging the lower slopes of green and brown and gray. Below these, the coastline seems to be one long, continuous beach. Its sand isn't white like in America. Here it is dark as coal. Sophia knows these black sand beaches exist because of all the volcanoes in Iceland, which have been belching up burnt stuff from the belly of the earth for countless ages. A few hours after arriving at the coast, the yacht slows to a stop. The rhythmic clanking of metal echoes throughout the vessel. Sophia assumes this means they are dropping the anchors. She retrieves the pistol and holster from beneath her pillow, returning them to their hiding place at her hip. The gray sky and low clouds outside have convinced her to dress warm, so she puts on a fur-lined coat. Beneath her pants, she adds a layer of leggings. Redbeard fetches her a few minutes later and leads her to an onboard movie theater. Lynn is standing by the large screen, looking down at the rest of her crew occupying the seats. Columbia and Caesar are the only ones Sophia recognizes. There are an additional 3 men and 1 woman she has never seen. Lynn beckons for Sophia to approach her. She also wears a fur-lined coat and is dressed for cold weather. A black bow leans against the wall behind her, and on the floor by her feet is a forest green backpack. Sophia doesn't have to look inside to know what it must hold. The fabled Book of Relics. "Allow me to introduce everyone," Lynn says, clutching the girl's shoulder with a talon-like grip. "This is Sophia, the girl I liberated from Etre's company." Nobody waves or even mouths a simple hello to her. Lynn points to a wiry, rodent-looking man with beady eyes and a scraggly beard. His face matches his nickname. Lynn introduces him as Mouse. The tall, gaunt fellow next to him she calls Stoker. He cringes when he hears the nickname. It's obvious to Sophia that the vampire-faced man is not a fan. Next down the line is a young woman with light freckles and vibrant bronze skin. She is called Cook. Sophia remembers hearing the name when she first came aboard the yacht in Skarsvad. Finally, there is a pudgy man of Asian descent who speaks with an elegant British accent. He is known simply as Q. As soon as introductions are over, Lynn orders Sophia to sit, then cuts to the chase. A map of Iceland illuminates the movie screen. Sophia thinks the island looks almost like a bird or a dragon. Its main bulk serves as the body, while a protrusion in the northwest forms its head and neck. Pointing at a spot smack dab in the middle of the southern coast, Lynn says, "Currently, we are somewhere near here." She shifts her hand to indicate the many-fingered peninsula jutting out from Iceland's northwest corner, the dragon's head. But we need to go here. Suddenly, 2 lines from the Immovable's poem strike Sophia. Gone back to the house that lights my heart best, the most extreme point twixt the north and the west. This, Lynn informs them, is the district of Iceland called the West Fjords. Since you all are familiar with the poem, you must realize it makes sense that the Immovable took the relic here. She pauses, waiting for questions. Hearing none, she proceeds to share the plan. Cook and Columbia will wait offshore with the boat. The rest of us, including Sophia, will ride ashore on the Zodiac. Once there, we will find a pair of vehicles. Then, when we have secured our transportation, we will begin traveling westward. At this point, Caesar raises a hand and asks, "How will we know where to look when we get there? There must be a billion places the relic could be hiding." "We will use our brains and our patience," Lynn replies. "None of us knows much about this island. For that reason, I'm afraid we will have to stop at a school or a library, or perhaps even a tourist shop to do some research. With any luck, we will discover the exact location identified by the Immovable's poem. And once we do, the relic will be ours. Any other questions?" If the crew has any, they don't ask them. Lynn nods her head briskly and says, "Good. Now off to the Zodiac. I must have a word with Sophia." When the rest have gone, Lynn sits beside the girl and says, "Against the wishes of several of my attendants, I am going to make a deal with you." "Okay," replies Sophia, wondering where Lynn is going with this deal. "I will allow you a certain amount of freedom as we travel," Lynn explains. "I will not tie your hands or your feet. I will not blindfold you. I will not post a guard to watch your every move. When we stop, you are free to roam about the area as you choose. I don't care." "And what do you want from me?" asks Sophia. "In return," says Lynn, "you will behave. You will not try to escape. You will not harm me or my people in any way. If you are asked to help with something, you will help. Do you agree?" It feels dirty to make any kind of agreement with someone like Lynn Lai, but Sophia can see no disadvantage for herself, so she nods her acceptance. "Good," says Lynn. "Do I need to tell you what will happen if you break the agreement?" Sophia shakes her head. "No, I remember. Septic tank." 10 minutes later, Sophia is skipping across the waves on the Zodiac. The inflatable motorboat didn't seem very seaworthy to her at first, but it is sturdier and faster than it looks. Within minutes, Redbeard and Mouse are pulling the rest of them up onto the dry sand. Sophia clambers out and blinks. The whipping wind has already dried out her eyes, which she imagines must look something like tiny white and green raisins. Ahead, through her crusty corneas, she spots a road. There is also a bridge spanning a dark, swift river filled with odd bluish boulders. As she and Lynn's crew come nearer, she realizes the strange rocks are actually boulder-sized chunks of ice floating down the stream to the sea. The party of 7 climbs up the embankment to the road. Here, Sophia's mouth drops. Spread before her is a vision which must have been transported to Earth from some fantasy world. A vast, silvery blue lake has made its home here, only a couple 100 yards from the sea. Floating steadily upon the lake is a city of ice. They are the broken hunks of glaciers. Some of these sapphire-streaked icebergs are jagged and angular, while others are graceful with elegant curves. Many are so massive they make her Colorado mansion look like a dollhouse. Dozens of smaller ice chunks have congregated near the mouth of the outflowing stream. When the sun has melted them enough, they will enter the final leg of their journey as the stream carries them to the sea. There they will become one again with the oceans, from which they first came so long ago. The great ships of ice hypnotize Sophia. She can't look away, can't miss this beauty for a single second. As Lynn leads them to a large parking lot on the other side of the road, Sophia stumbles behind the group, hardly noticing where her feet are taking her. Even when she is seated in the back of a steel blue Sab driven by Redbeard, she gazes longingly upon the lake, like one who has received a glimpse of heaven itself. Then they round a curve, the lake disappears, and its spell is broken. Only its memory will remain with her until her dying day, which, she hopes, won't be too soon. Back and forth, the highway winds lazily along the coast. As they weave westward, the landscape outside Sophia's window changes dramatically. One moment, they find themselves driving through lush, grassy tundra. A mile later, through blackened earth, with twisted groves of volcanic rock. Near Iceland's southernmost point, they pass a prominent cliff jutting out into the sea. At its furthest tip is a great stone archway, a door which giants of old might have passed through during a trip along the coast. Eventually, the road turns north. The late afternoon sun peeks at them from behind the clouds, promising a warmer tomorrow. Their journey now takes them across a stretch of flat, green country dotted by farmhouses. In one field, Sophia watches a herd of stout, shaggy, Icelandic horses galloping merrily across their territory. Elsewhere, there are flocks of sheep, thriving even without human intervention and care. Everyone is so captivated by the landscape, they forget to keep their guard up. The attack comes from nowhere. One moment they're enjoying the unrivaled beauty of creation. The next, they're spinning out of control. The shriek of crumpling, twisting metal rings through their ears, drowning out their own screams. Redbeard seizes the steering wheel, straining to regain control. He's unsuccessful. The car careens off the road, rolls once, and comes to a stop. All three jump out, dazed but uninjured. Lynn's backpack is already in her arms. This confirms Sophia's earlier suspicion that it must contain something extremely valuable. Only the Book of Relics could be so important. Looking back, Sophia sees that the car carrying the other four has suffered a similar fate. It too blew out its tires and ran off the road, where it crashed headfirst into a large boulder. Before anyone in the other car can even open a door, a swarm of burly, fur-clad men surrounds them. It's hard to tell how many, but Sophia guesses there are at least a dozen. It turns out Iceland isn't so unpopulated after all. The car doors are all but ripped off their hinges. Polished axes, knives, and swords flash in the afternoon sunlight. Among the hands of the bearded assailants, thick ropes flail wildly. In seconds, Stoker is yanked from the vehicle, bound and gagged. His attackers haul him to his feet and throw him against the truck. Caesar is quick to follow. Blood gushes from a gash above her temple, and her eyes are wide with terror. But Sophia can only guess at the fates of Mouse and Q. 8 of the wild men have now turned their attention to the other car. Brandishing their weapons, they charge forward, either to kill or to capture. Lynn lunges for the trunk, cursing herself for stowing her bow inside it while they drove. But the trunk door was crushed and twisted when the Sab rolled off the roadway. She tries only once to open it, but the mangled metal doesn't budge. In frustration, Lynn slams her fist against the trunk door. Then she hisses a single command. Run! Redbeard glances at her in disbelief. We can't just leave them, he shouts. We cannot fight our way through so many, Lynn argues. To try would be suicide. I order you again. Run! Murderous war cries pursue them as they race across the spongy, uneven tundra. An arrow whistles past Sophia's head, followed shortly by a second. When a knife thrown by one of the wild men glances off Lynn's shoulder, Sophia knows their assailants must be closing the gap. As she runs, the pistol bounces against her hip. She certainly wasn't planning to reveal her secret here and now. She wanted to wait until she could be sure it would help her escape Lynn Lai. She also doubts whether her partial magazine, 12 measly bullets, would be enough to stop the horde of ferocious men.
"There's a farmhouse ahead," Redbeard shouts. "See it on the slope? If you can reach it, you might be able to make a stand."
You? Lynn screams back at him. What do you mean, you?
"I'll split away and draw some of them off," yells Redbeard.
Another arrow passes close enough to nick his ear with its fletching.
"Good luck."
Before Lynn can protest further, he's gone. Glancing aside, Sophia sees him angling back toward the road. At least 3 of the men have taken the bait and are pursuing him instead. An agonized cry erupts on Sophia's left side. Lynn stumbles to the ground, a feathered shaft embedded below her right shoulder blade. Sophia hesitates. This is her chance. She can keep running. Let the wild men finish Lynn off. Sure, some might follow Sophia, but probably few enough that she can take them down with the pistol. And then, freedom. Before she realizes what she's doing, Sophia throws herself onto the ground beside Lynn. She reaches to her hip. 5 woolly attackers are bearing down on them. There is no time to stop and think. There is only time to act. Crack, crack, crack! A half-dozen shots split the air like thunder. 2 men drop dead to the tundra. Another buckles to his knees but remains upright. 4 and 5 charge onward, angling toward her from both sides to pin her between them. One raises an axe above his head, the other a thick broadsword. Sophia fires another short volley, and the axeman falls. But the last one is too close, and she's facing the wrong direction. His sword arm is already dropping toward her. She doesn't have enough time to swing the gun around. There's only one thing she can do. She kicks him, hard, just like Kira and Kyla taught her. Her heel catches him in his great barrel of a belly. The force of his charge throws her off balance and onto the ground, but her blow also stuns him momentarily. That's all the time she needs. Sucking in a deep breath, she aims the pistol and fires twice. The man drops backward, dead. Sophia exhales with relief, but a moment too soon. A shadow falls over her. She hears a bone-chilling cry of wrath, turns, sees the hulking form of the axeman. She thought she had killed him. Now his axe is slicing downward, falling toward her kneeling form. In that moment, Sophia knows her earthly journey has come to its end. As when the old man almost killed her back in Denver, she wonders what dying will feel like. She squeezes her eyes shut. But the death blow never comes. When she dares to open her eyes again, the man is stumbling backward. 2 knives, both with identical handles, protrude from his chest. Lynn is standing beside her. The feathered arrow in her back rises and falls with her belabored breathing, and she stares down at the man she just stabbed. He sinks to his knees, snarling defiantly. Then his eyes roll up into his head, and he collapses face down upon the earth. A moment later, Lynn does the same. The arrow protrudes above her, like a tiny flagpole planted in her back. Sophia scrambles to Lynn's side and leans in close. She's alive, but her breaths are shallow, rattling. Again, the debate rages within her. She knows what she should do. She should leave Lynn for dead. Sophia can go on alone, hunt down the relic herself. But the annoying ethical voice inside her won't shut up. She knows she can't leave anyone, not even an enemy, wounded and dying like this. Get up, Sophia growls through gritted teeth. She slaps Lynn lightly on the face. We need to get out of here. To Sophia's relief, but also her disappointment, Lynn's eyelids flutter. The woman moans and looks sideways at her. Idiot, she whispers faintly. Why aren't you running? You need to get up, says Sophia. If you're gonna be the Empress of Time, you can't die in this field. The faintest grin flutters over Lynn's pale face. With an arm around Sophia for support, she struggles to her feet. I'll take the arrow out when we get to the farmhouse, Sophia promises. But Redbeard is right. We'll stand more of a chance fighting them there than out in the open. They trudge on, woman and girl, as hurriedly as they can under their circumstances. The sun disappears behind gray clouds, and a clinging wet chill cloaks them. After what seems like forever, they turn up the farmhouse's gravel drive and through a rotting gate. Lynn's strength is fading into nothing when Sophia opens the creaky farmhouse door and drags her inside. Finding a dusty sofa, she lowers Lynn gently onto her belly. Exhausted, Sophia wishes she could collapse too. Not yet. Soon maybe, but not yet. Sophia hurries to the window and peers out. At least for the moment, no one appears to be following them. Then, turning back to Lynn's unconscious figure, she whispers, "And now for that arrow."